Now, some of the relevant areas of emphasis. I want to just put out a few areas of emphasis that we can emphasize on in our education. One is, as I said before, developing a sound basis in classical Arabic. And that is to nurture in the students the four skills: reading, writing, comprehension, speaking, comprehension meaning hearing, and speaking, to develop these skills. And right from the beginning, we need to try to develop in the students speaking, a basic hiwar that can go on between the students, so they're using their Arabic. Even ma hada kitab, masmuka ismi Abdullah, masmuhu ismuhu Ali. And they're talking like, min aina anta, ana min Amrika, aina Amrika. And then they're going on, so they're using things. If they know this, min aina anta, ana min Amrika, if they're using that, they know jumla ismiya. They know a noun sentence. They can use a noun sentence. They didn't have to put the verb to be in that sentence. So they have learned a grammar rule. If you try to teach them jumla ismiya, you'll frighten everybody out of the room. Because Arabic grammar can seem intimidating. But if you start to use it, it's logical. It's logical language. English is illogical language. GHT and PH and all these letters that are written and not pronounced. And you have to learn so many exceptions to the rules, right? Arabic's very logical, but you got to learn the rules, right? Once you know the rules, then you can get into the Arabic. So to emphasize this. Secondly, ulum al-Quran wal-Hadith. That we start to learn the ulum. That we learn something about the Quran itself in the sense of how, when it was revealed, what types of verses are there, Meccan, Medinan verses, the ulum al-Quran, the tafsir, start to go into the taste of the Quran, right? And then also into the hadith, that we start to go into the hadith to get an idea, give the students a feel of hadith. What is isnad? How this, chain of narrators. What is a good hadith and what is a weak hadith? What is a strong hadith? Give them a taste so they can start to see how beautiful this ulum al-hadith really is. In looking at the Quran itself, again, we should be very sincere to it. We should have tahseen tilawatihi, itba' awamirihi, wa tadabbur ayati. That we should have beautification of the reading of the Quran. You should read it with tajweed, right? Tajweed, or tartil as they say. Right? Tajweed al-huruf wa ma'rifatul wuquf. Right? Tajweed al-huruf. That you give the proper rights to the letters and you know the stops. How to stop and start. Tajweed. Everybody needs to learn that. But also, we need to learn that we have to follow it. Because many times we read the Quran, but we don't follow the verse. We don't love the Quran. As the Prophet, peace be upon him, said the time would come when people would be reading the Quran in melodious tones and it wouldn't go past their throats. Okay? Wouldn't touch their hearts. And lastly, tadabbur. We need to reflect on the verses. Learn to reflect on the Quran and reflect on the meanings. The third area we need to focus on is practical sessions in Tawheed. And that is the oneness of Allah, because that is the essence of Islam itself. And we need to focus in this society that our essence is not just certain clothes that we wear. It's not just certain language or food that we eat. The essence of being Muslim is the one belief in one God. And we accept all the prophets and the Prophet Muhammad as the last prophet. So this needs to be a practical tawheed, showing tawheed amongst the prophets, showing tawheed in other nations. You can also show tawheed. Then showing especially what they call tawheed al-ibadah, and that is the unity in worship. How tawheed plays itself out in your worship, not only just in salat, but in your dealings with other people. And Tawheed al-Ibadah goes into even magic, superstition, all the different forms of shirk that can come into the ummah. This is one of our great problems now that's holding us back, is that we're afraid of everything except Allah. Afraid of the night, afraid of jinnis coming inside of us, afraid of magicians putting spells on us, right? We're afraid of these things, man. You start talking about the jinn amongst people and everybody's eyes gets big. Their eyes get big. He said, yes, last night I saw the footprints where they were backwards. The feet were backwards and they're walking. And I heard sounds outside. Something happened to me. I have a headache, Brother Abdullah. I have a headache. He's stressed out. He's got 2 jobs. He's a victim of stress, but he thinks the jinn is inside of his head. And so, to have that belief in Allah and to have that feeling, that connection with the Creator. The 4th point we would emphasize is as-siratun nabawiyya, and especially what they would call fiqh sirah, the knowledge, understanding of the seerah. You don't just read it as a story. Take knowledge from the different incidents that happened to the Prophet ﷺ and his followers. And you can read Seerah ibn Ishaq. You can read Ash-Shifa al-Qadi Iyad. There's a number of works that you can read where you will find seerah being expressed in a way where you can get something out of it. Okay? This brings alive Islamic teachings. Seerah is important, and we use this as one of our main subjects for the students. And that is because the young people here, especially those who watch television a lot, and that's just about everybody, they're used to watching stories. Everything is a story. The hero is there, and his family is blown up by this wicked guy, and now he's going to go get him. He's got to get the evil people. The aliens have just landed over there, and so they see a story. And it comes to a conclusion. And some of these stories even teach them something. Unfortunately, they're teaching them the wrong ideas. But they'll teach them something with that story. When you tell some of the stories of the Prophet ﷺ, it's not just a story. It teaches something that we can learn from. If you go deep into it, it teaches tafsir, it teaches fiqh, it can teach hadith. Everything can be inside of the seerah. Also, you can teach what is called the stories of Sahaba, radiyallahu anhum. And there is a work by Abdullah Hamid, which is in English, called Companions of the Prophet. If you can't go to the Arabic sources, you can go to Companions of the Prophet, and there's female also companions, Sahabiyat. And these are practical stories. And when the children hear this, then is an example of somebody who did something. Then you can go through Islamic history, and you can look at different individuals in Islamic history, and you can follow their lives. Tariq ibn Ziyad, Salah ad-Din al-Ayyubi, many different people throughout history. You can see their examples right up until recent times. And these can be used. Number 6 is basic fiqh. Basic fiqh. Simple, practical fiqh. So the students can begin to taste what fiqh is and to know how to make their prayers properly, tahara, and all these different aspects in a simple way. But I want to stress that we need to have tolerance between schools of thought. There's a problem happening in some parts of America where people are now, getting themselves fortified around schools of thought. So I am a Hanafi, I am a Shafi'i, I am a Maliki. And in some cases, they look at each other, you Shafi'i? Some people say, they came to me and they said, can a Hanafi marry a Shafi'i? Right? As though it's like 2 different religions. Okay? They're fortifying themselves. Yes, you need to have a school of thought as the basis of your fiqh, but not to be intolerant. There's another new wave that says no school of thought. Don't have any school of thought. Don't go to any of the scholars. That's another extreme position. It's extremism. Because you cannot negate the great scholars of Islam. Okay, at the same time, you have to go back to the scholars themselves and see how tolerant they were of each other. How their love of the sources made them love the other scholars. They were teachers and students of each other. They were not rivals making different churches like Jehovah's Witnesses and Pentecostals and Baptists. This is a different concept which is alien to us. The 7th point is that, also in fiqh, halal and haram. That we need to have general courses in halal and haram so the students have a practical application of halal and haram in their life. Number 7 is the sunnah in akhlaq, character, and mu'amalat. Okay, that we have emphasized for a long time ibadat, how to pray, how to fast, but we need to emphasize now character and dealings, interpersonal relationships, mu'amalat. And there's a whole body of sunnah in this area. How you deal with people, how you address people, your respect for each other, respect for children, for adults, adults for children, men for women, modesty, how you deal, mu'amalat, how you do business. There's a lot of different areas of the sunnah in this field. 8, knowledge of the environment, fiqh al-waqi'. And in that, you need to have a general history you look at history from an Islamic perspective. Also, we need to look at the history of this part of the world to get a general idea with an Islamic perspective. What is the history of Muslims in this part of the world? That's an interesting subject, because you might not know, there might have been Muslims right here in the same place when there was no university, in a little masjid, and they tried for 50 years, and then they got lost. You need to know about them, so you don't fall in the same trap that they fell into.